I've been a thief for most of my adult life. But not the kind you see in ski masks breaking into gas stations. I don't wave guns. I don't make threats. I blend in. I read people. I exploit systems. I walk in, take what I want, and walk out. Las Vegas was never part of the plan. Too flashy, too loud. Cameras everywhere. Security teams trained like federal agents. But that's also what made it tempting. The ego in me, the part one tried to ignore, couldn't resist it. It started 2 years ago. I was staying at the Valencia, a 5-star hotel off the strip, mostly quiet, mostly corporate. I wasn't there for gambling. I was casing a private high-roller room 3 floors below the lobby. They called it the Vault. The Vault wasn't advertised. No signs, no public elevators, just an invitation-only entrance guarded by 2 ex-military types. Inside, it was another world. Private dealers, titanium-reinforced safes, and at any given moment, anywhere between $5 to $10 million in chips and cash. That's what I was after. But walking in with a gun or a mask? That's suicide. I had to become part of the place. So I did what I do best. I disappeared into a role. I spent the next 14 months laying the groundwork. First, I became a high-stakes gambler, not a real one, just good enough to lose money convincingly. I came in once a month, always the same time, always alone. I made friends with the staff, tipped big, made jokes. I became the guy they liked but didn't think much about. Then I got a job. Not a real one, an alias, a background check, and a forged work history that made me look like a cybersecurity consultant for a casino analytics firm in Chicago. I even made up a fake website. It looked legit enough that when I dropped that name around the staff, a few of them Googled it and nodded. The first person to crack was Marcus, the overnight floor tech. He worked the graveyard shift checking servers, running cable, resetting cameras. He was tired, underpaid, and had a kid on the way. I didn't pay him off. I gave him something better, sympathy. Advice. I helped him apply for a better-paying IT job at a different resort. When he got the call for an interview, I offered to cover for him. Just like that, I had 5 hours of uninterrupted access to the server room. What I did in those 5 hours wasn't flashy. No movie-style hacking. I didn't need to rewrite history, just nudge a few things. First, I mapped out every blind spot in their camera system, every corner, every light flicker, every motion detector with a dead zone. Then, I planted a backdoor script into their maintenance scheduler that let me cut power to specific feeds for exactly 18 seconds, without triggering a flag. 18 seconds isn't much. But in a casino, it's forever. Next, I needed someone on the inside during the actual job. That came from a blackjack dealer named Elise. She was smart, sharp, and absolutely sick of the place. Her boyfriend had just been arrested. She needed out. I gave her $40,000 and a one-way ticket to Montreal. Her only job? Delay one of the routine chip transfers by 2 minutes the night of the job. That delay would trigger a mismatch in the inventory system. Nothing suspicious, just enough to reroute a single locked chip cart to a different drop zone, the janitor's hallway in the East Service corridor. That's where I'd be waiting. Now, the night of. It was mid-November. Quiet. A Wednesday. No celebrities in town, no big poker events. Just another normal night. I checked into the hotel like any other guest. Room 1243. Corner suite. No luggage. Just a garment bag, a duffel with a false bottom, and a burner phone. At exactly 1:18 a.m., Elise signaled me with a text. Now. I was already in uniform. Not a suit. A janitor's outfit, faded blue name tag that read, Henry, complete with fake ID badge swiped from a contact I paid months ago. I walked straight through the staff hallway with a mop and a caution sign. No one looked twice. At 1:20, the chip cart rolled into the drop zone. Security had rerouted it after Elisa's delay, just like the system was programmed to do. Here's the thing about these carts. They weigh nearly 300 pounds. They're tracked with RFID tags, and they're only supposed to be opened inside the vault. But I didn't need to open it. I swapped the real cart with a duplicate. Same weight, same paint, same RFID signature, but filled with cement and scrap metal. I had 2 minutes and 45 seconds to do it, the exact window between 2 scheduled patrols. I'd rehearsed this moment for nearly a year in a rented warehouse back in Arizona. When the swap was done, I wheeled the real cart into the elevator and hit 12. Back in my room, I had less than 8 minutes before a systems check would catch the weight discrepancy in the vault. I stripped the chips, dumped them into the false bottom of the duffel, and cleaned the cart with industrial solvent to erase prints. Then I made the call. A black SUV pulled into the loading dock 10 minutes later. Driver never looked at me. I loaded the bag into the trunk, shut it, and walked back inside like I forgot something. Then I did something no one expected. I stayed. For another 6 hours, I stayed in that hotel room, ordered room service, tipped the maid, and watched the early morning news like nothing had happened. At 9:05 a.m., the story broke. Internal inventory glitch at Valencia. Security investigating chip discrepancy. No mention of theft. No arrests. No panic. Just a quiet, confused scramble behind the scenes. I checked out at 10:12 a.m., took a cab to the airport, boarded a flight to Denver using my real passport under my real name. They never even knew I was there. When I landed in Denver, it was snowing. I remember that because it felt surreal, leaving behind a desert heist and stepping into a winter postcard. The duffel bag with the chips was already en route to a safe house in Phoenix, driven by a courier I'd used 3 times before. She didn't know what she was carrying. Just a locked case, double-bagged, sealed with a code I'd changed the moment she delivered it. Now you think this is where I disappear, right? Mexico. Switzerland. Some Caribbean beach with a fake name and a drink in hand. But I didn't run. That's the thing most people don't understand about big scores. The job isn't over when you steal the money. It's over when no one remembers you were there. So I laid low. For 6 weeks, I lived like I had nothing. I rented a bland apartment under a shell name in Boulder, picked up a freelance IT gig to make the story believable, and I waited. Every morning I checked the news. Every night, I checked the forums, dark web whispers, chatter from other crews, any sign that someone suspected something. Nothing. No arrests. No internal leaks. Not even a rumor. The Valencia had written it off as an internal systems failure. The insurance payout? Quiet. Controlled. Buried under non-disclosure agreements. That's how you know you won. Still, I didn't touch the money. Not directly. It took me almost 9 months to move the first million, slowly, surgically, through a network of fronts and clean accounts I'd been building since my 20s. Art auctions, offshore entities, phantom real estate deals. I lost a chunk to laundering fees, but that's the cost of doing business. By the time I pulled the last of it through, it was nearly 3 years later. And here's the sick part, I started to miss it. The planning. The adrenaline. The dance between being seen and not noticed. I'd tell myself I was done. That I'd escaped the game with more money than I could ever need. But then I'd see a building with a weird loading dock, or a security guard checking a back door too casually, and my mind would start working again. That itch never goes away. So I did what smart thieves rarely do. I went back. Not to Vegas. That would be suicide. I picked Chicago. Target, a private vault storage facility used by ultra-high net worth clients. Paintings, heirlooms, bearer bonds. No one watches those places because everyone assumes the owners already did the vetting. This time, I had no inside help. No sympathetic dealer. No weeknight tech. I had to build the entire job from scratch. Get hired as a building contractor under a fake firm. Spend 6 months upgrading their access panels while slowly planting backdoor codes, infrared bypasses, and timed circuit jumps. It was my cleanest job yet, and it should have worked. But the mistake didn't come from me. It came from a guy named Troy, part-time getaway driver, full-time dumbass. I used him once before, a small job, no problems. But this time, he got lazy. Took a photo of one of the bearer bonds we pulled and tried to auction it online through a private collectors forum. They traced the IP. He panicked and ran. Didn't matter. The FBI caught him 3 weeks later. He cut a deal before they even poured his coffee. They didn't have enough to arrest me. But they had just enough to start watching. They froze one of my accounts. Raided a safe house in Jersey. Questioned 2 guys I hadn't spoken to in years. And just like that, my name was back in circulation. I vanished again, of course. Changed everything. New country, new prince, new story. But that job, it marked the end of my career. Because in this life, you only get to walk out like a guest once. The second time? Someone's always watching the door. For nearly a decade, I was a ghost. I had a routine. New identity every 18 months. No personal connections. I stayed away from anything loud, flashy, or American. I lived in places people forget, Vilnius, Tbilisi, Luanda. Cities that didn't care who you were, as long as you paid in sea. I thought I was safe. But ghosts leave shadows, no matter how careful The first sign came in the form of A.W. Tall, early 30s, sat 3 tables down from me at a street cafe in Budapest. She ordered an espresso, didn't drink it. Glanced at her phone every minute or so, never unlocked it. Didn't smoke. Didn't look around. But she was watching me. I clocked it in the reflection of a bus window as I paid my tab. I didn't run. I didn't go back to my apartment. I didn't touch my safe or the decoy passports. I walked half a mile, ducked into a side alley, and left everything behind, again. 3 days later, in Istanbul, I spotted her again. Not in person this time, on a hotel lobby monitor that looped security feeds. A still frame of her leaning against the concierge desk 2 hours earlier. Same coat. Same posture. Same phone. Now I knew. This wasn't the FBI. Not Interpol either. They don't follow you that long unless they're scared of making a mistake. This was private. Quiet. Someone with a lot of money and a grudge. And the only thing I ever stole that came with real emotion attached was in Vegas. I'd always wondered who that money really belonged to. Casinos don't cry over $8 million, not unless it was never theirs to begin with. I started digging. Carefully. Through forums, shell companies, offshore trusts. It took months, and I burned 3 identities in the process. What I found? That $8 million wasn't house money. It was being laundered. Funneled through the vault by a shell corporation connected to a man named Declan Moretti, a Vegas investor with old-school mafia roots and new-school connections to real estate, tech, and Eastern European arms contracts. In short, I hadn't robbed a casino. I'd robbed a money-cleaning operation disguised as a casino. And the woman? She wasn't law enforcement. She was a cleaner. I went underground again. Deeper this time. The kind of places where even rats don't trust each other. In Warsaw, I paid an old Russian hacker to scrub my digital footprint. He failed. Died in his apartment 3 days later. Heart attack, they said. In Cairo, I tried to bribe a former Mossad contact to get me safe passage into Morocco. He ghosted me mid-negotiation. By the time I made it to South America, I was out of options. One night in Santiago, I met a man. He said he used to be in the business, mine. Said he knew someone who could make the Moretti problem go away. I didn't trust him. But I was tired. Paranoid. Alone. I agreed. And that was my second mistake. They caught me in an alley behind a hotel in Valparaiso. Not with guns. Not with sirens. Just a black car. A woman with quiet eyes. And a phone that buzzed once before she stepped forward and whispered my real name. The one no one knew. The one I hadn't used since I was 21. She didn't arrest me. Didn't hit me. Didn't even threaten me. She just said, "He wants his money back." And that's how I ended up in a room, half a world away, staring at a silver briefcase and a clock ticking down from 90 minutes. My options were simple. Get it back. Or disappear for good, and not in the way I was used to. Now, here's the thing, once a thief, always a thief. But when you're being forced to steal under a death sentence, the job changes. You stop planning for the getaway. You just plan for the moment right before it all goes wrong. The clock read 89:53 when I opened the briefcase. Inside, a black tablet with a single encrypted file, a burner phone, and a photo. Not just any photo. It was Marcus, the night tech from Vegas. The one I'd used to slip into the server room all those years ago. He had a beard now. A little older. Sitting at a kitchen table with a kid on his lap. They found him. That's what this was really about. It was never just about the money. It was about control. Retribution. Someone had to pay, and they didn't care who. But they were giving me one last chance to fix it. And they wanted me to do it by robbing someone even worse than them. The tablet contained blueprints, guard schedules, and access codes to a private offshore vault in Curaçao. Crypto wallets. Cash stockpiles. Documents tied to one of Moretti's rivals, a man named Sidorov who had supposedly skimmed millions from a joint operation. My job was to steal it back. Simple. Except this time, there was no planning. No slow infiltration. No backup. No clean exit. Just a deadline, a plane ticket, and a single message burned into my head. If you're not back in 72 hours, he dies. And then you. I should have walked away. Burned the files. Disappeared into some jungle and accepted the price. But I didn't. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe ego. Maybe I still thought I could outsmart everyone, one last time. I landed in Curaçao under the name Alex Hartley, posing as a logistics manager from a private Swiss firm. The vault was located beneath a high-security yacht club, disguised as a wine cellar behind reinforced concrete and biometric access points. I had 36 hours to figure it out. There was no one to bribe. No cameras to blind. This place was built for ghosts like me, by people who had spent decades fighting each other in silence. So I went old school. I staged a fire alarm. Forced an evacuation. Then I walked in wearing an emergency responder uniform, mask on, gloves tight, toolkit slung across my back. No questions. No hesitations. I bypassed the biometric lock by injecting a microsignal into the palm scanner, a trick I swore I'd never use again. The vault opened. The weight of the door shook my bones. Inside, it wasn't gold or cash that stunned me. It was hard drives, laptops, folders filled with blackmail material, offshore routing data, shell corporations stretching across 4 continents. I understood then. This wasn't a job. This was a setup. Moretti didn't want his money back. He wanted leverage. And I had just delivered it to him. I made my way out clean. No alarms. No chase. At the rendezvous, I handed over the case to the woman with quiet eyes. She didn't speak. Didn't look at me. She just nodded. And then she was gone. I thought that was it. I'd done my part. Paid the debt. Saved Marcus. Bought my life back. But the truth? You never walk away clean. 2 weeks later, I found a photo slipped under the door of a hotel I hadn't checked into under my name. It was Elise, the dealer. Dead. No note. No explanation. Just a message written in black marker on the back. Loose ends unravel. So here I am now. Older. Quieter. Rich beyond measure, and alone. No one calls. No one visits. I don't have a real name anymore. Just layers of lies stacked on top of a hollow core. Some nights I dream I'm still in Vegas, under the blinking lights, pushing that cart toward the elevator. Other nights, I hear the lock on that vault door click shut behind me, and I wake up gasping for air. If you're listening to this, don't be impressed. Don't wish you were me. Because in the end, I didn't beat the system. I just bought myself more time in a game where the house always wins.